There we go. I don't even know if anybody heard what I just said. Probably not. It says I'm live, but then that's why I always pull it up on my phone, because it says I'm live, but then I'm not live. It's not broadcasting. It is what it is. We got it. That was just helping me get my jitters out. That's what that was. Yeah. So I was talking about synchronicities and how the universe is trying to beat down my door right now. If you did hear this and I'm just repeating myself, forgive me, or let me know in the chat, in the comments, in the chat. Lord, I've been spending too much time with my children. Let me know if you heard me say this already. But Tupac one time was talking about when you're trying to get to something on the other side of a door and you knock and you're like, hey, first you just knock. Nobody answers the door, so you knock and you might speak up. You might say, hey, can I come in? I need to get in there. He was talking about food being on the other side of the door, so it was a different principle, but the mechanics still apply here. And if they still don't answer the door, then maybe you knock a little louder, you start beating on the door, kicking the door, hey, let me in. It just builds and builds. And I feel like synchronicities work that way. When whatever it is that you believe in, whatever expression of divinity you connect with, whether it's, God or the universe or your higher self or whatever, the greater good, when it's trying to tell you something, when it's trying to give you something or get you to notice something, when it's saying, hey, I need to get in there, there's a reason it's trying to get in there. And the universe has really been about to kick my door in if I don't open it up and see what's going on. So all the things that I've been talking about, I feel like aren't a true enough expression of myself. There are things that, that I don't post. The things that I don't post are the things that are the true expressions, the real things, like the one-on-one stuff, different classes and lessons, and just, talking with people and doing consultations and stuff like that. That's where my gold is. And I do that all, like the stuff I write, the things that I work on a daily basis, the things that I learn about and then turn into something else, like all the little patterns I find with things, that's what I need to be expressing and giving, period. That's what I need to be giving, and I haven't been doing that, and I need to. What good is it if I keep it all for myself? I already have it. Like, it's coming from me. What am I going to do with it? Why am I doing it if I need to, somebody else could use it, it might help somebody else in some way. And it's hard, it's scary. But like I said, look, your birth chart, astrology, like the transits to your birth chart and stuff, all that is just your lesson plan for this life. And I've been studying, and it's test time. Like, I knew it was coming. I could feel it coming. It's been a day. So that's why I decided not to talk about black moons and blue moons tonight. Because I can tell you about that, but it's not something that, I haven't created anything with that. I haven't done any work with that. If I talk about that tonight, I would basically just be telling you what I know about it, almost like repeating information that you could go and find yourself. And that's not who I am. That's a disservice to you. It's a disservice to me. I owe myself more than that. I owe you more than that. So, I'm using my voice. God, this Mars work that I've been doing. I had no idea when I started doing this Mars work that led to this Jupiter work that I would end up finding my voice. That's how it works. You don't know what the outcome is supposed to be, because all you can do is be in that moment and take care of that thing. And then if you take care of that thing the right way, when I say the right way, I don't mean like what something else defines it as the right way. When I say the right way, I mean like the right way for you, your right way. When it's true to your path, then it will lead you to something else. And there will be tests along the way. You got to make sure you know it, right? You got to make sure that it's sunk in. The reason I started the Mars work was because I really was not vibing with my Mars. I didn't, look, Scorpios are proud of being Scorpios, okay? You got any kind of strong Scorpio energy in your chart, you really, really connect with your Scorpio energy. You really vibe with that Scorpio energy. And then my chart wants to be like, oh, your Mars is in Libra. Libra, the most social energy in the whole zodiac? Are you serious? Is this a joke? This is a joke. And that's my Mars in Libra is it's opposite to my midheaven in Aries. So now you're telling me that the whole like main focus of my work, my purpose, the thing I'm supposed to do in life, my destiny, whatever you want to call it, has something to do with Aries? Wild ass Aries with no self-control? And I got all of this in Scorpio, and you want to tell me that I need to do something with Aries? Or something Aries related in an Aries space? I have too much self-control for Aries energy, okay? I'm not listening to you right now, birth chart. I'm going to pretend like that's not there. I'm just going to keep vibing with my Scorpio. Mars in Libra, opposing an Aries midheaven. Are you serious? Like, what do you even do with that? Well, I believe there's nothing better you can do for yourself than to know yourself. And this is the message that I try to get across using astrology. Astrology is just a medium. I discovered at a very young age. I didn't realize it back then, but I discovered at a very young age that I was good at helping people learn things. That I was not just good at helping them learn things, but helping them learn how to learn. Helping them figure out how to learn it for themselves. That's great. That's fantastic. You know, kids, I would tutor kids in grades ahead of me, and like they didn't understand something, so I would break it down. And like I said, I didn't realize that this was what I was doing back then. Not until I learned so much more about self-development and training and like teaching people things, because that's what I spent my career doing basically. I was picking up on how can they connect with this? How can they understand this? Because I wanted them to know that they were capable of understanding it. Like, can you imagine if you're in the sixth grade and a fourth grader is helping you with your homework? Like, you already feel dumb because you need help with your homework, and now this younger kid is going to come tell you how to do it. So maybe you're feeling kind of dumb. No, I need you to know that you're not dumb. You know how to know this. You just don't know how to get there yet. And then, like I would be training somebody at work, somebody new, and before you know it, I've like revamped the whole training program, because you have to help people. Like, people have to know their power. I have always been passionate about, hey, you have this in you. You can learn this. You are competent. You just have to figure out how to get there. So astrology is my medium for that now. First it was tutoring kids, then it was like training at work. I was like, oh, self-development, I'm really good at that. And then I figured out, oh, I can use astrology to do the same thing. Only now I have so much more to work with because I've been doing astrology. I've been into it since, like, some of my earliest memories when I was a toddler are about looking at the stars and some, myth or legend, reading it or watching a movie about it, whatever. So it's always been my thing. And it was something that I knew a lot about. And that's what I do with it. The whole goal is to help people know themselves. To know that your power comes from you. It doesn't come from anybody else. I'm a Scorpio. So a lot of the stuff that comes my way is heavy stuff. It's heartache, it's trauma, it's hooked out, it's personal hells. How do I find my power in this situation? Baby, your power never left you. Something just kept you from seeing it. It's still there. It can't go anywhere. It's who you are. You can't lose it. Nobody can take it. You can't give it away. You can stop using it. So, my Mars is part of who I am. And unless I want to be a hypocrite, I mean, this is not the reason I did it, but it's a realization I had once I started doing it. Because I had no idea what my Mars had to offer me. None whatsoever. If you want to know your whole self, then you have to look at your whole self. And every part of yourself that you get to know only reinforces your power. It helps you connect with it more. But yeah, I didn't want to hear anything my Mars had to say. I don't want to hear anything you have to say. Flip that. I don't want to learn anything about myself from you. I don't want to learn more about that part of me. That's what you're really saying when you say, I don't want to hear that. Sometimes you need to say, I don't want to hear that. I'm not talking about like setting boundaries. I'm talking about figuring out where your boundaries need to be set. How do you know where to set your boundaries if you don't know what you're setting them around? You know, like if you've got some land, you're gonna build a house, you're gonna put a fence around your house. Do you build the fence first? Probably not. You gotta know what you're putting the boundary around. So you have to know yourself so you know where to put your boundaries. Otherwise, you're just guessing. And maybe it's too close and you don't have any room to live in the house, right? You don't have any room for your life because you made your boundary too close. Maybe the land you bought was too small because you weren't thinking about how you want to live there. What kind of space do I want to live in? You weren't thinking about that. You were just thinking about, oh, I need this and this and this. You were making an uninformed decision. The thing that keeps us from learning more about ourselves is fear. Usually it's fear that's built up from trauma. So we don't want to look at things because this is, what we've had to deal with in the past, and now there's all these blockages here that we have to get rid of. So it takes courage. It takes courage to look at yourself. It takes courage to, in alchemy, the phrase is solve et coagula. It means to break apart and put back together. If you want to know about something, you have to break it down into parts. Learn about each of the parts, and then when you know about each part, you understand how they all fit together, and then you see the big picture. Like, they put themselves back together, basically. You don't even have to, it's like, oh, okay, I see now. But you have to understand each piece first. You have to know how it functions. You have to know everything about it, all of its characteristics, So that's what I started doing with my Mars. And Mars is what I want to start talking about today, because Mars is part of the equation I put in the title, fire plus water equals Phoenix. Mars rules 2 signs in the zodiac. It rules Aries and it rules Scorpio. Disclaimer, gotta say this. In traditional astrology, if you're using modern astrology, which is the same thing, we just add a couple extra planets in there that we've discovered since back in the day, Pluto co-rules with Mars. And I used to be like, well, maybe Mars just doesn't have anything to do with Scorpio. I mean, it makes sense. We didn't even know about Pluto back then, so it makes sense for it to... I was limited by what I knew. I didn't know what I didn't know yet, right? So, trying to breathe and blow here. So I basically just ignored Mars for the most part. I avoided Mars. I didn't want to... I know it's there, but I'm going to pretend like it's not. Because I don't want it in my world. When I finally became secure enough in myself knew myself enough to let go of my death grip on my Scorpio identity, I became open to, okay, maybe I can just talk to my Mars. Maybe I can just see what my Mars has for me. So that's what I started doing. And that's been over the last couple years. I will say this, before I start telling you, whatever about the astrology of it, understanding that part of me, first of all, Mars is your fight or flight instinct. It's how you deal with obstacles. It's how you face opposition. It's how you deal with opposition. Okay, so Mars is like your army. It's like it's how you assert yourself. Well, all of my trauma was sort of like that. I was taught that I wasn't supposed to assert myself, I was taught that I didn't have a Mars. Basically, what are you doing? We don't want to hear what you have to say. Who are you to stand up for yourself? You don't do that. You fall in line, whatever. So it was pretty beat up. Once I started working with my Mars and learning more about that part of myself, I used to be on, after my youngest son was born, I had to be on an SSRI for a little while, for like 5 years, because anxiety, depression, like I needed it. I could not function. My anxiety was debilitating. Okay. I couldn't assert myself to make the simplest decisions. I would be overwhelmed by the clothes in my closet and not be able to figure out what to wear. And I would just like sit there on the floor and cry because it was too much for me to handle. My Mars was weak. So weak. But every little bit of self-work that I did gave me confidence in myself. Oh, I can handle this. And then I'd be like, oh, fuck. There was that thing, and there was that thing. And when you're working through how you got to be here, it sucks. It's hard because you got to look at all the bad things that got you here, all the things that were outside of your control, all the trauma, all the garbage that you've been fed, all the ways that you've been conditioned to not be who you are, to suppress yourself. And that's what I had started unpacking. So yeah, I needed that SSRI, and I needed some anxiety medicine for emergencies, and I needed to just lock myself away from the world for a minute. Not like in a hospital, just at home. But if I needed to go to the hospital, then I needed to do that. Whatever I needed to do to get myself to a place where I could start unpacking those things. And that's sort of like the first step toward getting to know yourself, is to know like what all's in there. Aries is a fireplace. Actually, let me just pull up a chart real quick. I think that would help me too, because I'm seeing myself on the screen right now, and that's kind of one of the things I'm dealing with. I'm not comfortable being seen, but I do have something to say, and I'm going to say it. Otherwise, the Tupac universe is going to beat me up. So I'm just going to pull up the current planets for right now. That's what I'm going to do. And we'll look at that chart. So here's where things are right now. In Scorpio, so in Aries, Mars is fighting the things that are outside of you. Aries is where you're born. Aries is where you're born, right here. It's an external energy. They also call that a masculine energy. I like external because that's what masculine means, is it's external. This is where you need to direct this energy out. So if you think about a little kid, how they get pissed off about everything and they just throw a fit and they react. Mars is very reactive in Aries, and you need it to be, right? Because this is where you're born. This is the first sign. This is where you assert yourself into the world, where you come into existence, where you take up space. And you do take up space, and you're supposed to take up space. And this is where you say, this is my space that I'm taking up. And you're looking for threats. And if something threatens that, then you react to it. You're supposed to. It keeps you alive. It keeps you alive. Scorpio is a water sign. It's not reactive. It's internal. It's an internal feminine expression of Mars energy. So, what does that look like? That was something else that threw me off. Well, when you're taking a look at yourself and your trauma and you're getting to know yourself, Scorpio is where you do it. You see yourself in Cancer. Like, the water signs are all where you work on yourself to become resilient. So you see a reflection of yourself in Cancer. You become aware of that reflection. Hey, there's another side to me over there. The moon, dreaming, unconscious mind, all that's Cancer. You become aware of it in Cancer. You deal with it in Scorpio. You need Mars to deal with it. Because it takes courage to look at yourself and say, where have I gone wrong? What have I believed about myself that's untrue? Where have I been hurt? I wrote something down that I'm going to read it. And I'll show you guys this too. A picture of it. Giga Codex. Devil. There's this book called the Giga Codex, and this is the first. Well, that's on Amazon, so I can't. Is there a Wikipedia? This is the first depiction we know of the devil, right? We can't just get a fucking... I'm trying to find something. Here we go. Oh no, that's that. I don't want to use somebody else's stuff if I'm not supposed to. Basically, is why I always try to use Wikipedia and find the things. So this picture right here, that's a picture that this like crazy excommunicated priest or monk or somebody, I think that's how it goes, drew this. He's got a forked tongue. It looks like he's got two tongues right here. So the devil's tongue is forked for a reason. In the underworld, when everything is stripped away and all you have left is yourself, the path you have walked is judged. Your missteps are made clear. When he tells you where you went wrong on your path, he is also telling you how to stay on the path that's right for you. When you learn where you strayed from your path, you know how to stay on your path. When you know how you ended up in hell, you know how to get to heaven, right? So will you stay there in the underworld and whatever? Will you stay in this place of judgment? Or will you take the key and use it to get out? So the devil's tongue is forked for a reason, because it's a key. You just have to be open to hearing what's not being said. Something else cool. Hades, which is Pluto, right, has a spear called a bident. Oh, that's not Wikipedia. It's a forked spear. Kind of like the devil's tongue, right? Let's see these pictures. It's got 2 prongs on it, and these are called teeth. Bident means 2 tooth. Trident means 3 tooth. The water signs all have spears associated with them. And I went down that rabbit hole too, and I'm not going to talk about all the things I found out right now, but I found out some cool stuff. So it's almost like the water signs are sort of like a little bit of hell, maybe. Why'd they put that with the devil? I don't know. They're not supposed to be easy. The water signs are where you regenerate, because you're dealing with the hard stuff. It's where you become resilient, because this is where you see yourself, and you're sort of like, is this the way I want to go? Is this what's true to me? What's real to my inner self? Scorpio, you deal with the pain. You deal with you're in hell. You gotta get yourself out of there. Nobody's gonna do it for you. In the myths, when like Hercules or whoever, when they come out of the underworld, when they come out of Tartarus, they have divine intervention. Some god or goddess or whoever helps them. Your higher self, God, whatever it is, whatever the thing is, it's trying to pull you out of the underworld. Something else that really hit me harder than usual today was about the vulnerability of Scorpio. What? Did I just say a phrase that doesn't make any sense? Scorpio is not vulnerable. What are you talking about? Like, that's our whole thing, right? We're going to make ourselves invulnerable to everything. And Scorpio does, and it stays a scorpion, and it ends up stinging itself, trying to sting all the things coming at it. You're not going to hurt me. I'm not going to let you. I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me. Scorpio is also the only sign that goes through like this 3-step evolutionary process, right? So, you've heard like Scorpion becomes the dove or the eagle, and then it becomes the phoenix. Here's the secret to that. The scorpion is vulnerable. It can be killed because it ends up stinging itself. So it's like, well, let me just get away from the opposition. I'll start flying. And this is good because this is evolution. At least you have sense enough to know to remove yourself from the situation and not just like stay down there getting beat up or having to fight it so much, right? Now you're flying, you're coasting, but you're still vulnerable. I mean, the right thing comes along, it can take you out. The trick is when you make yourself vulnerable. Well, does that mean you just go around opening yourself up to anybody? No. Remember, Scorpio isn't internal expression of Mars. It's your impression of yourself. Fire is an expression of yourself. Water is your impression of yourself. That's why you have to deal with so much trauma in water, because what is your self-impression? I have this impression of myself. This is what I think about myself. This is how I believe about myself. That's what you're getting rid of in the water. You're seeing it clearly for what it really is. And you're dealing with it. And you're in these nice healing, restoring waters so you can. So in Scorpio, in order for Mars to do its work, you have to make yourself vulnerable to yourself. The fuck does that even look like? Because Mars has work to do in there. Mars has got to go in there and clear out all the stuff that is a threat to your well-being. And the threat to your well-being is outside of you. Mars deals with it in Aries. When the threat to your well-being is inside of you, Mars has got to go in here and take care of it. And you have to let Mars do its job, because it's going to one way or the other. Like that's what it does. You have to let the cycle finish. A lot of times when we are dealing with chronic stress, chronic trauma, there are things outside of us that are just like opposing us, and they're a threat to our well-being. It doesn't matter if it's an unhealthy relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a stressful job. It doesn't matter if you're a single parent. That's stressful. You might be a single mom working 2 jobs, going to school full time every day, and you have no help from anybody else. I was there. That is stress outside of you that you have to deal with. Mars helps you assert yourself so you have the energy to deal with it. But if you do that long enough, you get tired. You can sort of one way to combat that neurologically is if you can picture a victory, if you can feel a victory. And if it's hard for you to picture things, if you can watch a movie where somebody gets the win, where they are victorious, where they get the girl or win the race or whatever it is that they do, where they overcome it, because your subconscious doesn't know time, right? It doesn't know. So what you're doing is you're sending a message of victory to your subconscious, which is where all your planets live, all these parts of you. And Mars is like, oh, okay, whew, we did it. Mars doesn't know the difference between the world that you're looking at right now and the world that you're looking at on a screen. It just knows what you feel when you see that. It's just picking up on those neurotransmitted messages, right? So if you can send it this message of victory, then it's like, oh, I did my job. I can relax now. So the key to knowing how to make yourself vulnerable is to know yourself. If you've been doing the self-work and you know who you are, you know what you need, you know what you value. Sorry, it's the camera. I promise it's the camera. If you know what you value, if you know what you think, if you know what you need, if you know what you can overcome, because you have already overcome things, then it gives you faith in yourself, and you know that if I can't be myself and be vulnerable around anybody else, at least I should be able to be vulnerable with myself. I should be able to just let my guard down with myself and let the thoughts come and let the feelings come, and whatever comes up, I can handle them because I have Mars. I have my Mars, and my Mars knows what it's doing. So whatever subconscious thing comes up, whatever, part of myself that I've been avoiding looking at comes up, you can handle it. Because Scorpio is the place where we do this. Pluto, the other ruler of Scorpio, the modern ruler of Scorpio, is what shows you those things. It's where the wound is. It's Pluto is Hades. He's a devil. He shows you the path to hell and the path to heaven. And if you have taken some missteps on the path, or if you have misstepped, whether it was your fault or not, it doesn't matter. You're still here. You still ended up here. It doesn't matter how you got here. You need to know yourself enough to know that you can handle looking at how you got here, like, I can handle this. If it's my fault, it's okay. I'm not going to judge myself, because we've already been through all of these signs to get to Scorpio. So by the time we get over here, like Aries, this is just, all you have to do is exist. And this is where you're learning to deal with external threats, right? Taurus, you're learning what you need. Gemini, you're learning how to connect with everybody, with everything, with the world around you. You're learning fine motor skills and language. But sometimes some of that stuff hurts, and that's how you get to Cancer. Cancer is where you say, oh, I feel a certain way about this. And that's okay, you're supposed to. That's what Cancer is for. It's for you to say, oh, there's not just like this outward expression of me, there's also this inner impression that I have of myself that nobody else sees because it's mine. It's, your most personal feelings about things. And you should be aware of that there. That's what that place is for. We don't hide from how we feel. Well, did a Scorpio just say that? Yeah, I did. Because, were you scared of yourself? Are you scared of how you feel? What kind of Scorpio are you? I've been there. Leo is where you start expressing yourself, because you've seen your self-reflection. You know how you feel. In Cancer, so you know who you are. And Leo, you express who you are. And Virgo is where you learn even more about it, and where you learn what you need in your life and where you don't need in your life. And this is where you start setting those boundaries, right? This is for me. This is not for me. This is where you learn discernment. Libra is where you learn what you need to connect with. What am I missing? What am I missing here? So you see, it all sort of culminates in Scorpio, where you can face yourself and say, what do I need in myself? What do I not need in myself? And Mars fights for that within you. You fight for that for yourself, in yourself, not against the world, against yourself. All the shit that's in there, all the garbage that's been piling up, I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. Cleaning out your own house. Who have I connected with in personal relationships, romantic relationships, partnerships, and been let down? Well, some of their shit is still in here, and I'm throwing it out because it's not mine. It's not for me. I'm not going to keep making that mistake again. Just because somebody else's shit is here doesn't mean I need to go find another version of that person to move in and start using it. Nope, throwing it out. That's what Mars in Scorpio does. So now that you've got all that shit out of there, right, and you had to make yourself vulnerable enough to do that, well, really, you've just killed off part of yourself because you killed off the part that was hurting you. You killed off the part that you didn't need. However you want to put it, all the things that, the part of you that wasn't real, you just thought it was. Because somebody made you believe it was. Somewhere along the way, somebody did something to start making you believe that this is who you are and this is what you deserve and this is what you have to accept. And you don't. And now you know that. So what does a phoenix do? It makes itself vulnerable enough to die, to turn to ash, so it can be reborn. When the eagle says, I surrender, I trust myself enough to surrender. Fuck, Nicholas, there's another synchronicity. I trust myself enough to surrender to myself because I know that I can not just face whatever I need to about myself. I can overcome this thing about myself that is not serving me, not doing me any good. It's hurting me. I can get rid of that. So you turn to ash and you deal with it. It's gone. Now you're a fucking phoenix, right? Now you are truly invulnerable because you've made yourself the most vulnerable you could. It's like the end of 8 Mile. There's power in vulnerability. And if you say it, like that is the moment when B Rabbit became Slim Shady. Maybe not Slim Shady, but that is the moment he stepped into his power, is when he made himself vulnerable. He did that. The world didn't put him in a vulnerable place. He chose it. It's like choosing self-sacrifice. But then that took all the power away from the other people, all the power of his that they thought they had. They thought they were taking his power. He let them know, no, that's mine. You can't have it. You couldn't take it if you wanted to. And I know that now because I'm a fucking phoenix. It's only when we feel like somebody is taking our power that we let them have it. You have to understand that it never went anywhere. It's always with you. You just got to get rid of all the stuff that's making you think that. Now, when the cycle continues, your Mars can go back to Aries. And because you know who you are, you know what you need. You know what you think. You know how you feel. You know what you are capable of overcoming. And you've already faced the hardest part. You've already faced yourself. And if you have all the power, if you are the power and you face that, then what chance does anybody else in the world have of taking that away from you? So when Mars gets back to Aries to do Aries things, when you come back into that Aries space, whether it's a new job or it's, I don't know, sometimes just waking up in the mornings and dealing with your family can put you in like the I'm being attacked here kind of space. Anything where there might be any sort of threat to your well-being coming from outside of you, you have, like, it's not even important anymore. It's like fucking Mr. Miyagi. You got that. You don't even need to say anything. You don't need to do anything because it's not even bothering you anymore, because you're not perceiving it as the threat that you used to think it was anymore. It's like if you play Mortal Kombat on super hard mode and all you do is fight the boss, when you go back and play it on easy mode and you fight the first round, it's like, I used to think that was hard. That's what it's about. Yeah, you did used to think it was hard, and it was hard, but you've grown. You know yourself more now. You know yourself, so you know your power. And it doesn't bother you. You can handle it. But if you never give yourself the opportunity for that growth, if you never face something that you're uncomfortable with, that you're unsure of, that you don't like, you will never get to that place. You'll be stuck. I posted something on Instagram today. And this is how I knew that, like, this was my real, true self saying this. I'm not gonna lie, I was terrified to post this. I was so scared to post it. Not because, it wasn't like, oh, what if nobody sees it? What if nobody reacts to it or says anything about it? No, that would be hell for a Scorpio. That would make a Scorpio nervous. Interacting, doing extroverted things, right? No, I was scared somebody would see it. I was scared somebody would hear me. And how can I talk about not just realizing your power, but owning your power, stepping into it and owning it and living it? How can I be so encouraging and tell other people how to do that and cheer them on and be so passionate about that? But I can't do that for myself. How can I admire their bravery and walk with them through that process if I can't, if I don't even know what it's like, if I can't do it for myself? I can walk with you through the dark, through the underworld all day. That's where I live. I know all the ins and outs, all the nooks and crannies. I know all the back roads. I know all the alleys. I know all the shortcuts. I know all the long ways. I know the parts of town you want to avoid. I know the parts of town that is cool to go to on this day because so-and-so is at his grandma's house and not over here. I got you. We can walk through there all day. But when it comes to stepping back out of that tunnel and back into the light, when it comes to stepping out of the underworld and being seen for who you are, that's the part that makes me nervous. So that's the part that I have to do. So that's the part that I'm doing now. That's why I was like, I can't not be myself. I can't continue to not put out these. It's not inauthentic. It's not dishonest. It's not a lie. It's just, it's missing something. It's missing me. It's missing my creativity. It's not a true expression of myself And I think that's why I dislike those things, because I know I'm holding something back. I can detect that there's something about this that is not true. There's an untruth in here somewhere. And Scorpio is where you deal with those untruths. It's where you find them. It's where you pick up on them, and you get to the root of it. You find out what's going on, what it really is. So I posted this thing today on Instagram, and I was really scared. I'll read you the second part first, and then I'll read the first part, because that's just how I'm going to do it. I wrote, Pluto is like a dark mirror. It's scary to look at because we see our shadow. We see not just our wounds, but also how our wounds are reflected to the world as red flags. Oh, this is a me thing. This is a me issue. And other people see that. They're seeing this. They're seeing that something about me is off. I'm hurting them because I'm hurting. That's what you see. Can you see through someone else's eyes? Can you see the wounds they are afraid to look at? The blood that makes those flags red. Being aware of danger is one thing. That's just fight or flight, an instinct that we're born with, right? Understanding danger gives you the power to deal with it. But understanding the wound makes you empathetic. I said, stop giving away your power. Don't let someone else make you less empathetic. Don't let them make you less human. It's another Scorpio thing. It's hard to have empathy for someone else, or for someone who has none for you. It's hard to have empathy for someone who has none for you. It's hard to remember they're human and they have value. It's hard to forgive when no one is sorry. It's supposed to be hard. That's when the growth happens. And this is what the water signs are for, to help us grow. How do you help a plant grow? You water it. When you can do this hard thing, when you've done the hard thing for yourself, right? When you know your pain, when you've worked through your pain, when you've worked through your trauma, when you've become that phoenix, all of a sudden it's easier to see that in other people because you have so much experience with it. So you understand. You have compassion. I was talking about that the other day. And that takes you to Pisces. You see, the water signs are like an initiation of how we handle our feelings in our life. That's how that path of development works. Another Scorpio thing is understanding that you don't need them to have empathy for you. You don't need them to understand. You don't need them to care about you. You don't need them to hear you. You don't need anything from them, because you can do it all for yourself. Not out of spite, or not out of like, Because then Mars is still reacting to the world outside of you. It's not in the Scorpio space. You've entered the Aries space again now, not the Mars, not the Scorpio space. When Mars stops being reactive to the world around it, it's because it's done its job. It took care of the threat. It could be the exact same situation, the exact same thing happening again, but now you don't see it as a threat. Because you've done the work. Because you've done the hard stuff. You've dealt with the shadow, whatever you want to call it, It's all the same thing. You have faced yourself and overcome yourself. And now you just, whatever, So when I say at that point, when you don't need anybody else, it's because you don't. It's because you know you got yourself. And you stop blaming other people because you own yourself. You are accountable for yourself. You are your own source of power. You don't need them, so you're not mad at them. You're not mad at them for not providing for you, for not understanding you, for not hearing you. You're not mad at any of that because you don't need that from them. See, before you were mad about it because you needed it. You needed it from somebody because it's something that you weren't getting. But now you don't need it because you took care of it yourself and you're good and no bad feelings. Now it's almost like you're seeing it from another perspective, you've got yourself and you know where you used to be and you can see that in them. And that's where you use that empathy and that compassion. And if they don't want it, that's fine. They don't have to want it. There's somebody else that does. Maybe there's somebody else that needs it and they're not even saying anything because they've got a lot of Scorpio and they don't need nobody. Fuck y'all. But they still might catch a word or two and be like, I didn't even know that I needed to hear that. So that's where I am right now. For the people that don't know their power, for the people who do, that's who I'm supposed to help. That's who my message is supposed to reach. That's what I feel like. I know I've already been talking an hour. There was some other stuff that I wanted to say too, that I feel like I kind of need to say. So, fuck it, I don't care what time it is. You don't have to watch this whole thing if you don't want to. But somebody might need to. Somebody might actually want to. They might be really into it. So, yeah. And you know what? Even if nobody watches it, if nobody needs to hear it, if nobody wants to hear it, that's cool because I need to say it. So there. And I don't need to say it. So see what I'm saying? Like I'm afraid to be heard, but I need to get it out. So this is me being brave and saying it anyways. That's a better way to put that. When I was getting to know my Mars, Remember I said I didn't want nothing to do with that. You don't have anything I need to know. I know you're in Libra. That's all I need to know. Okay? What the fuck did I know about Libra? Not as much as I could have, because I had been closed off to it. Because I was a Scorpio. Self-control. All I need is me. All I need is myself. You can be social and connect and all you want to. That's cool. But I'm going to stay right here. That's not for me. So I was judgy. I was a judgy Scorpio. If a Scorpio ever tells you that they're not judgy or have never been judgy, they're lying. They're lying to themselves. And that when a Scorpio lies to themselves, that is not a good thing. That is not a person you want to be around. So, let them work that out of their system. Support them how you can, but understand if that's where they want to stay, is this judgy place, okay, cool. Don't let it bother you. Don't let it keep you from being you. Yeah, so I was like, I didn't want to know anything that my Mars had to offer. I had to put that to the side. Okay, so Libra is a lot different than Scorpio. Let me just check it out. Let me just see what it's got to say. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then I learned some really esoteric shit about Libra, and I was like, whoa. And then I learned some really psychological stuff about Libra, and I was like, holy shit, that makes so much sense. And then I was like, huh, Scorpio and Libra have more in common than I thought. There's some Scorpio stuff to this Libra world after all. And that's how I connected with my Mars in Libra, was through very Scorpio things, right? Occult, esoteric, psychological, secret meanings, all the hidden stuff that leads to this evolution and self-development. And I was like, okay. I never would have found those things out if I was too put off from making the connection, if I just stayed in that place. And how long did that delay my development? How long did I spend in that place? How much time did I lose there? Time that I could have been learning so much more and doing the things I love to do if I hadn't reached out. If I hadn't tried to find some sort of common ground, somewhere to start. And I wasn't even looking for common ground, to be honest with you. I was not, because I didn't think Scorpio and Libra had anything in common. You couldn't tell me any different. But I went at it with, I'm just going to look at this academically. Just purely academically. Let me see what I can learn about it. I put aside my feelings about Libra. Do you guys see how this works? Not just with yourself, but with everything else. You can't learn anything. Like, don't cut yourself off from happiness. If you never open yourself up to something new or different, what are you missing out on? If it's not for you, then it's not for you. Okay, but I checked it out. It's not for me. Leave it alone. And you know yourself enough for that thing that you opened yourself up to, that you checked out. You know yourself enough for it not to be a threat to you. If there is something different, if there's something new and it's triggering you in some way, why is it triggering you? That's where your work is. That's where there's something there that you need to pick at and go. You need to take that to the Scorpio place and figure out what it is. like older people, like older people, like just sit in the rocker all day and don't get wound up about nothing. Why do they not get wound up? And the teenage grandchild comes in and they're like, well, don't you even care? This is so cool. I'm like, you don't get hype about nothing, do you? Hey, I was done being hype 40 years ago. Because they've been there, they've done that, they got the experience. They've already been hyped. They've already been in that space. They've already confronted that thing. They've already done that work. So no, they don't get wound up about it anymore. It doesn't bother them anymore. It doesn't excite them anymore like it excites you. It's okay. You're supposed to be excited right now. You're supposed to be wound up about it. That's where you are. But you're not supposed to stay there. Don't stunt your own development. Get out of your way. God, we get in our own way so much and blame it on other people. Maybe I should write that down. I'm trying to make a list of these are the ways that I help people. This is what I help people do. I help people know their power. What does that mean? I help people get out of their own way. Because I do those things. And I'm comfortable saying those things. I might not do them perfectly. I might be way off target sometimes. But I'm not perfect, and that's okay too. I keep trying. I keep learning. I never think that I know everything. Oh, I'm wrong? Teach me. How am I wrong? What can I do better? I love constructive criticism because it's such an opportunity. If you're going to be an asshole, then, whatever, be an asshole. I'm still going to hear what you got to say, though. I might not tolerate you being an asshole in my space because this is my space. Now I know how big to make my house. Now I know the space that I need to live in, that I want to live in. I know what I want my space to be. So I have built my space, and now I can put my fence around it. Now I can set my boundaries. But even if you're an asshole and I have to make you leave because you don't respect those boundaries, I still hear what you have to say. Because is there any truth in it at all? How do I even know if I won't hear it? If a customer has a complaint and you're just like, fuck that customer. Well, no, what if what they're saying is something that can help you? What if it's something that you can fix that is not even a big deal that maybe you were just unaware of? A little thing that you can switch up, and all of a sudden you're making more money. You can do your job better, or it makes your business better, or whatever. Just it takes somebody pointing it out to you, though. You have to have another perspective. You need people to help you see things. Like if you're in a scary movie, you know how in the scary movies you're watching it and somebody's like all freaked out and they're so scared and they're in fight or flight and there's like a threat and they can't even see it. Usually because they're freaking out, but also because Ghostface is hiding over here in the corner trying not to be seen. Either way, their perspective is limited to what they can see. You can see it because you have another perspective. Do you think they would say, no, I don't want you. You have a different point of view than the point of view that I'm seeing through right now, and I don't want yours because it's different. Or you think they'd be like, where's he at? No, I need somebody to have my back. Where's he at? I want people around me that can see what I don't see. It helps me. That means they got my back. Even if they don't know they got my back, I can use them to have my back because I can see what's coming. That's what spies are for. Hello. That's kind of a Scorpio thing too, right? Those spies. You need that other perspective. You have to have it. And when anybody starts telling you you don't when anybody starts telling you to totally reject any outside information, when anybody tells you to stop learning, why? Why are you telling me that? Why are you trying to control me with your abusive relationship having ass? When you're in a toxic relationship, what's the first thing they do? Won't let you hang out with your friends and family. They cut you off from your connections that you're familiar with. They don't want you to leave the house. They don't want you to learn anything new. They don't want you talking to your friends and family because your friends and family have another perspective, another point of view that you don't. They have a different point of view. And they might tell you, hey, your new boyfriend is not good. But they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to hear that. So they limit your perspective. They limit your interaction with anything outside of you. They put you in a fucking box. And then they put a label on you because they say, oh, you're so-and-so's girlfriend. That's who you are. That's what you are. You're so-and-so's girlfriend. That becomes your identity. That's a dangerous thing. That's one of the main reasons I don't like labels. Don't give me a label because that limits who I am to this thing. What if I'm more than that? It's okay to identify with something. That just means that like you're vibing with it. You resonate with this thing. But it's not who you are. That's not your vibe. It's that thing's vibe. You might vibe with it, but it's not you. It's not who you are. Like we don't realize that anymore, you know? Which is leading me into why I said, you know, the whole fire, water, phoenix thing and how it relates to Pluto and Scorpio. Because Pluto and his bident, I love that word, bident, have come over here to Aquarius now. Pluto is at 1 degree in Aquarius. But think about Aquarius like this. Like it's society. It's the whole structure. It's the whole puzzle. The whole picture. You are one piece of that puzzle. So imagine yourself as a little puzzle piece, or look at a puzzle piece if you can't like picture it in your head, or imagine yourself being a puzzle piece. Look at a puzzle piece. The important part is the part of the picture that it is. That's what makes it that piece, because of it's showing this thing, these colors coming off of it in this pattern, in this way, in this order. It is unique. None of the other pieces are like that. The boundaries are outside of it. You set your boundaries at the edge of yourself, so the boundaries to that puzzle are on the edge of it. Once you have that, once you're showing the colors that you need to show in the way that you need to show them, and you've got your boundary firmly set, you can go set yourself in the whole picture and become part of the whole. And every other piece of the puzzle is like that. So all these little individual pieces that are showing the colors that they need to show, and in the pattern that they need to show them in with their own individual boundaries, all fit together to make one big giant, like this is your perspective of the puzzle, of the whole picture. And if you add that with all the other pieces, now you can get the whole picture. See, in Capricorn, the Saturn, the boundaries are outside of us. This is our place in the world. This is our kingdom. In Aquarius, the boundaries go inside, as within, so without. The boundaries are internal, so there's this expression that's so much bigger than us. And that's why I need to start saying what I need to say. Not like what I personally need to say, but more like what I feel called to say. And I don't even feel weird about using that word anymore because, you know, whatever I dealt with growing up in a Southern Baptist church, I can say I feel called to do something and I don't feel any type of way about it. So I can talk about what I feel called to talk about. I can show my colors in the puzzle. There wouldn't be the same puzzle without me, right? We'd be missing part of the picture. But Pluto and his Bident coming through here saying, let me show you where the missteps are. Let me show you where people are stepping off the path a little, off their path a little. Hey, you're stepping off your path. That's not the path that you want to take. You want to go this way, right? Pluto shows us, the devil shows us what not to do. So we have the key to knowing what to do. I think that's the real thing we should, if we're going to, talk about what we're concerned about with Pluto and Aries, because Pluto is so scary. I don't know, Pluto is scary. I joke about it because Pluto is like my patron deity, right? Like Pluto, death has always been with me in some way or another. Right now we get to talk about the hard stuff. So like I have a different relationship with it than a lot of people. When you don't understand something or when you don't have a lot of experience with something, you are afraid. I'm afraid to speak about my own, like I'm afraid to express my own true personal creation. I'm afraid to be seen. I'm afraid to be heard. I've got to deal with that. I've got to know that I can deal with that because that's a place that I haven't been to before. I've been hidden. I can do that. But how much of me has really been seen? So it's scary. It's a Pluto thing. So I get it. Pluto is scary and Aquarius is all about connection and like on a global scale. So we're talking about like AI and internet and the man. But don't forget that Aries is where you fit into all that. Not in a conformist way, because the whole picture is not the same little picture over and over and over again. It's not the puzzle pieces are not copies of each other. Each one is different. That's the Aquarius space, that whole puzzle, and your place in it. Whole freaking picture. Your place in the world, your place as a true expression of you, the thing that makes you unique. How does it fit with everything else? And it does fit. It fits perfectly. You just don't realize it. Pluto is going to come through and be like, well, let me show you where there's a problem with this. Let me show you where this is not happening. Let me show you where there's poison. Let me show you where there's lies. But on the flip side, Pluto is showing us how to stop being a bunch of fucking Pinocchios and just having our strings pulled. somebody's truth is somebody's truth. You don't have to like my truth. I'm not asking you to like my truth. But it's mine truth. It comes from me. It's mine. It's part of who I am. And it might not always be right. Sometimes it might be really, really wrong. All you can do is point it out to me. Point out where you disagree. Because what if you're the one that's wrong? What if I try to explain something to somebody and it turns out I'm wrong? It's very possible. I don't fucking know everything. You know? I haven't always been as developed as I am psychologically. Like, I haven't. There was a point in my life where I hadn't done all this work, so I didn't know as much as I thought I did. You couldn't tell me that, though, because I knew what, like, I know. You can't tell me I know. Okay, just leave it alone. That's how you keep scrolling in real life. You just, okay, cool. And you move on. You remove it from your perception so you're not looking at it. In cognitive development theory, like, when you're learning something new, Jean Piaget wrote this and put all this together. When you're confronted with something that is not already a part of your perceptual pattern, right? Because everything we recognize, this is what that means. You recognize it because you've seen it before. There's a pattern in your brain somewhere. And this thing, you recognize it because it's similar to the pattern that's already there. It's that pattern. When you come across something that you don't already have a pattern for, you don't recognize it, it's different. You start figuring it out. How does it work? What is it? What is this? What is this letter? How do you pronounce it? What sound does it make? How does it fit with these words? You learn. There's two options. You can either assimilate the new thing or you can accommodate the new thing. Assimilate means that, like, you integrate it, you start using it. Accommodate it means when you accommodate it, you know it exists. You're accommodating it in your awareness, in your perception. But it's not like you're not vibing with it. It's not for you. You just set it over here. Botany is a thing. I know that. I'm not trying to say it's not a thing. It's not my thing. So I'm not over here studying botany. Like, I'm not, let me just look at these fucking botany books that I'm not even interested in. Getting mad because I can't understand it. No, I'm reading astrology books and doing other nerdy things with neuroscience and alchemy or whatever, you know, because that's my thing. So you can either assimilate or accommodate this new information, this new thing that is not in your field of recognition. If you try to just pretend like it doesn't exist, that's a coping mechanism. Coping mechanisms are how we deal with things that we can't deal with. We cope with them. Our brain files them in the trauma part of our brain, in our subconscious, and it becomes water work. The things that you're unable to assimilate or accommodate, the things that are too overwhelming for your Mars to handle in Aries, your brain takes those patterns and puts them in your subconscious. So now when something comes along and reminds you of that thing, because it recognizes the pattern, oh, that memory, that pattern is in a different part. So now you're triggered. That's what the trigger comes from, and that is, we know how much fun that is, right? So then you got to unpack, you got to face it, you got to deal with it, you got to do all this water stuff over again. When if you had just realized in the beginning when you were first confronted with it that you are strong enough, that your Mars can handle this, and you don't have to feel threatened by it just because it's different, just because it's new, Well, now you can just, it's not for you, okay? You'll just accommodate it. You'll just put it over here in this filing cabinet that you never look at. Not in the one that sneaks up in your nightmares, or when you're in line at the grocery store and you have a panic attack and have to leave. It's always easier to do things on the front end than to go back and fix them later. All I'm saying is, like, don't be afraid of things that are different. Don't be afraid of things that you don't know. You are strong enough to handle them. You are. And if somebody is telling you to reject something that is different, if it's like a doctor or something that's different, like, I can't eat grains, fruits, vegetables, all those things irritate. Like, I can't tolerate them. They trigger an autoimmune response, which is Scorpio, by the way. Neuroscience on the elements coming soon. I do need to avoid that. I do need to be like, whoa, I need to reject that, but I'm still accommodating it. Like, I understand it still exists in the world. I just know that I can't have it. I'm rejecting it from me, from my system. It's still here. I'm not rejecting its existence. You know what I mean? When somebody is telling you to, like, reject the existence of something, why? Maybe it's because they're a toxic boyfriend or girlfriend or parent or any other person in your life who just wants you to be their little Pinocchio and pull your strings. Because what are they gaining from it? How much are you missing out on? I don't know, they used to tell us black people and white people couldn't interact with each other, couldn't get to know each other, couldn't be confronted with each other. Just stay away from them. Stay away from them. You don't want none of that. You don't want none of this, do we? What was that movie? It was the Johnny Cash spoof. You don't want none of this cocaine, do we? Maybe I do. Yeah, maybe you do. Why don't you check it out? You might like it. Some of my happiest, this is my point, like, all jokes aside, there is happiness and joy that is in my life because I approached what was different, because I knew myself. I had enough faith in myself. I knew my power enough to say, hey, to kind of put myself out there. And that's my core message. And I guess I'll stop rambling now. But that's the core thing. That's the thing that if I could get people to pick up on, like, that's the thing that I'm trying to say. That's the thing that I want people to know is your power is yours. It is you. You are not separate from it. Nobody can take it from you. So how do you get to a point where you stop feeling like somebody is trying to take your power or somebody has taken your power? How do you get to the point where you remember who you are, where you remember your power? That's what I do with astrology. And you're going to see a whole lot more of that soon. When I look at, like, I can see trauma in a chart, not like in a woo way, but like I can show you this is how we track the trauma, and I'm going to show you how I do that with my own chart. Not tonight, another night. So you can see how I work and how I can pull certain things out of the chart, and I'll show you how I understood it for myself. And who knows where it'll go from there. I'm not worried about that because that's later. We'll see how that develops. I'm just worried about, this is the step that I have to take now. And I've kind of felt a little bit for my next step, so I know kind of this is the direction that I need to step in a little bit, and that's where I'm at. I'm not going any further than that because I don't need to. I'm not on that stair yet that's way up there. I'm on this stair, so this is where I need to be. That's all any of us can do. So yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling now. I'm gonna stop talking. But this is how I use astrology. This is what astrology is for me. It's a map for becoming who we are, for remembering our power, remembering ourselves, and getting rid of all the shit that we don't need that's distracting us from that. That's a powerful thing. God, that feels good. So thank you for watching. If you want to know more about how I do astrology, if you have any questions for me, if there's something you want me to look at in your chart, reach out. You can comment here. You can message me on Instagram. You can message me on Patreon. If you have my phone number, you can text me, whatever. I don't care. However you want to reach out, whatever you're comfortable with, I'm good with. But do that and we'll talk. And I have to say, it would be helpful if you like the video. If you want to. If you don't want to, that's cool. But anyways, yeah. You guys have a good night. I will see you next time.